Hey buddy, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. My battery died on me. So consider this part 2 of my review. So I was hoping to do it all in one video, but I'm sorry about that. But as I was saying, the next match we got after the JR Punk segment was Del Rio and Kofi. It was a good match. Del Rio does go over on Kofi via submission. What was unique about this is they had Ricardo on commentary, so that was pretty cool. The next we get our main event, but before that, AJ basically is talking to an executive coach, saying that she needs to be a leader, and that he has a point that she needs to be a leader in everything, and that they should add some oomph to the main event tonight. Maybe a special guest referee, maybe him. But then, of course, being the split personality thing, she kind of switches her mind a little bit, changes her mind and says, look, truth is, if you haven't been in this game, if you haven't played this game, you don't have no business being a coach, and I don't need a coach. And basically, she tells him to leave the ring, leave the arena. So after that, we get the match, and then we find out that she has appointed herself the special guest referee, which isn't too, approving of all the participants. So AJ basically makes herself the referee, and I thought did a decent job, but you could tell from a storyline perspective that there's something going on with her and CM Punk, and even maybe Daniel Bryan, if you consider it. But I thought it was an okay tag match. It seems to really get behind Team Hell No, Kane and Daniel Bryan, because they're the team that went over after Paul Heyman, who I guess AJ noticed, put Punk's feet on pushed the ropes towards Punk, gets ejected, and then Vicky gets ejected, and then Dolph goes after Vicky like, hey Vicky, where you going? You need to be here. Just leaves Punk alone. So basically, from a storyline perspective, this kind of tells you that Punk has become an outsider to a lot of people because he doesn't want to work within the system or something like that. So basically, Punk gets beat by Daniel Bryan and Kane, and they end the show by both of them still arguing of who the tag team champion is. Now, overall, I thought this was an okay Raw for the 3 hours it had. I think it may have a little bit more viewers than some people are saying it does, or will. Especially if you look at the 9 o'clock hour, or if you've DVR'd it. So I thought it was an okay Raw. I mean, not every Raw is going to be perfect. Let's face it. Not every Raw is going to be perfect. I mean, Off the Rope Show, British Fish, The Brad Rules. Everybody knows not every Raw is going to be perfect, all right? Let's face it. Let's be honest. But to me, the storyline developments coming out of this is obviously AJ wants... obviously it seems to me that if they are going to go towards what is being rumored and reported of AJ being removed as the general manager, again, like I said in the first video, I think what's going to be explained down the line, if they decide to do this, with either the new GM, if they bring one in, or they keep AJ as the new GM. Basically, what's going to be explained maybe to some people like Vicky and Paul is the reason, maybe what will be explained, not saying it will be, but I'm thinking they may be considering it to be part of the storyline, is that the reason the board of directors never made Vicky the general manager and never considered Paul as general manager is because both are associated with superstars. And if they weren't associated with said superstars, they might have had a better chance at being the general manager. But because of their association, they're not going to get that opportunity because maybe, and I'm thinking, this is just my opinion, I'm thinking they might be considering this to add to the storyline, that the reason Vicky and Paul won't get an opportunity is because of the association, and maybe because of the fear that they're going to show favoritism. And that if you're going to be the general manager, you have to be unbiased and you cannot show favoritism. So I'm just thinking that might be the reason that gets brought up in the near future. Do I see John Laurinaitis being put into this? This is a good question. I definitely see him. Maybe. There are reports he's not going to return anytime soon, but probably expect him to return in some capacity. To me, I think it's a very interesting development what's going on here. If they do kind of play the card that CM Punk has been talking about with AJ, and the fact that she's only doing this to him because it's not because him and Paul Heyman are saying derogatory things about her and insulting her and, insulting her job as GM. But if they do decide to go, if they decide, okay, we're going to go with the whole, because he said no to her proposal deal. If they decide to go in that direction, it might be interesting. Because I think what's going to happen, and I'm not saying they will go in this direction, but I'm thinking this is one of the considerations they might be, one of the angles they might be considering for the storyline. I think what they're going to do is they're going to have a stipulation to where if CM Punk loses the title to a John Cena, maybe at Hell in a Cell, maybe Survivor Series or something like that, or even to a Ryback, that if he loses, the only way he gets a rematch is if he marries AJ. That's what I'm thinking. Now, what's interesting about this is the first two people they focused on when AJ came out as the referee last night was CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. So you're thinking, are they still playing that card? I think in a sense they are playing that. I mean, let's be honest. AJ's character right now is the fact that she's mentally unstable. She's kind of I guess you could say a Nurse Jekyll. She's like a Mrs. Hyde, Miss Hyde, Dr. Jekyll, or Miss Hyde, Nurse Jekyll kind of thing. You don't know where she's coming from. Now, what I also thought about last night, too, was very interesting as well. I would not be surprised if they want to add a new twist to the angle as well with AJ in a situation with CM Punk and John Cena and Ryback and whatever. I won't be surprised if, because of John Cena's injury, they decided to make the match for the title at Hell in a Cell a three-way, with Ryback included. I won't be surprised that, as far as AJ goes, because obviously AJ's over with the crowd. There's no doubt about it. Let's face it. She is over. There's no doubt about it. But I've got a feeling they might do a storyline to where AJ will be like, look, if say, maybe a match, maybe have some kind of a match or something like that, to where, let's say, so-and-so who represents her wins, then she gets total control of, then she remains general manager of Raw, and the board of directors can't interfere. I'm thinking that's where they might go. She might do something they might do something in the storyline, in my opinion, to where they're going to add a stipulation to the point that if AJ let's say they put AJ in a match, or let's say they have AJ bring somebody out to represent her in a match, that if she wins this match, or if her representative wins this match, she remains the general manager of Raw, and the board of directors can't tell her otherwise. They can't put no probationariness, nothing over her. They can't tell her a single thing. They can't punish her or anything. Kind of like the situation with the Big Show, if they're still following through on that. And the fact that she's going to kind of be like an ironclad situation. She'll be in an ironclad situation to where she can do what she wants. They can't do anything about it. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. But I'm thinking that's one of the perspectives. I mean, because it seems when you watch last night's Raw, AJ is pissed. Character-wise, AJ Lee is pissed off at the board of directors. She is pissed off at the fact that the board of directors are not letting her do her job the way she wants to. So, again, I'm thinking that might be one of the directions, one of the angles they might add to the storyline. Now, according to reports, apparently this whole situation with CM Punk is CM Punk denying John Cena a rematch, is they're going to keep bringing out legends, I guess you could say, to tell Punk, look, if you want to prove you're the best in the world, you want to prove you're better than the rest of us, you need to take this match. You need to take this match, beat Cena in the cell by yourself, and then you will be considered as the best in the world. Now, I don't know who they're going to bring out next week, but it'll be very interesting to see who goes in that direction, who they bring out. It might be a surprise for all we know. But as far, as far as the match goes, I got a feeling it's either if Cena's ready, it will be one-on-one, but if it's not, it's going to be a three-way. I've got a feeling. Let's face this. You don't put someone like a Ryback in a situation like this if you're not preparing him for something big. according to basically WWE.com, the poll that they have, 80% of the fans want to see Ryback and Punk. So if you can get that some ways at Hell in a Cell, like in a three-way, then so be it. So be it. But we'll just have to see what happens. We'll just have to see what happens. And again, the whole AJ situation, like I said, there's three ways they can go with this. I mean, if they do decide to let her go storyline-wise as a GM, that's great. That you can let her then explore her options as part of the Divas division, where she can finally have free reign to get her hands on someone like Vicky and basically go like, no, I'm just kidding. But, if they decide to go with that, or if they decide to keep her on, I'm thinking it's going to be two ways. She's either going to be kept on with with a possible angle added into the storyline to where she'll have complete control, kind of an ironclad-like control without the interference of the board of directors. Or two, she's going to add, as the GM, she's going to add the stipulation to Punk. She's going to finally admit the truth to Punk that says, you know what, you're right about the whole situation, about me being mad at you for saying no. So I'm going to add this. And maybe the board of directors will play a role in it, saying, oh, by the way, for once me and the board of directors see eye to eye, because they have agreed that if you don't beat Cena, if it is Cena he faces, then you don't get another rematch until you marry me. Or something like that. So I've got a feeling that's what they're heading towards. I think that's one of the strongest areas, strongest options they're going to head for, maybe. I'm not saying they will, but it seems like they're going to. But, that's what I see going on there. As far as the tag team tournament, I have to say that I think it's going to do well. I mean, the tag team match last night was good, so we'll just see where they go with it. As far as the Divas situation goes, I mean, who are we kidding? We all know Eve's going to be revealed as the attacker, or it's going to be revealed that she hired somebody to attack Caitlyn at Night of Champions because she should be in charge of, because she feels if anybody should be Divas champion, it should be her. And it seems that she wants more than just the Divas title. It seems she wants Booker T's job as the general manager, so that might be interesting too. Basically, it's like she wants everything. She wants everything. She wants to be the champion, but she wants power. She wants control. So we'll see what happens there. But it's very intriguing that even though reports have said Triple H wants to focus more on tag team wrestling than the Divas division, then he's not totally ignoring the Divas division. So that's good. Antonio Cesaro, I will say this, he may not get that much of a reaction, but I will say this, allowing him to go over someone like Brodus, despite how you feel about Brodus, is actually a big deal, because Brodus, as far as I know, really didn't have a signature loss, a single loss, if you will, one-on-one loss. So to have him basically, have him basically beat him with the neutralizer, which is, pretty impressive to put on someone the size of Brodus, I thought was very good. Do I think they're going to start jobbing Brodus out and everything? I don't think so. I think they just decided, Brodus, we need to let you have Antonio. I think they probably took Brodus aside and said, hey, we want you to put over Antonio. Is that okay? We want you to do it. Wait a second. Okay, that was just a recycling truck away. But we want you to do it on Raw. And I'm sure Brodus didn't have a problem with that. I mean, he has a lot of wins. I'm sure he's not going to mind a loss here and there. The whole segment with Punk and JR I thought was very good. I mean, I like how JR just basically said, I ain't going to say you're the best in the world until you prove it. Until you get in that ring with Cena and prove it. You beat him. Because I think what's going on here, and going back to Punk for a second, I think what's going on here is it's going to be revealed, and I think this is what they're leading towards, is Punk has beaten Cena before, or has gone to a draw with Cena before, but it's always been under controversial reasons. And they're going to point out maybe Money in the Bank, where he beat him in Chicago last year, due to controversial reasons because of the interference of Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis. Then they're going to talk about SummerSlam, the situation there with Triple H as the referee. Then they're going to talk about let's say SummerSlam, they're going to talk about Raw 1000. They're going to bring up SummerSlam this year, and they're going to bring up Night of Champions. Basically, they're going to point out, yeah, you've beaten him and everything, but you've always walked away from a match with him with the title, but it's not been basically in a one-on-one, no strings pulled, no controversy situation. So I think that's what it's leading towards. But basically, I think the storyline is, hey, you want to be the best in the world, you go to Hell in a Cell, you get inside the cell with Cena, you face him one-on-one by yourself, you beat him one-on-one inside the cell by yourself, and then you'll get what you want. You'll get your respect, and you'll get to be called, and you'll get people calling you the best in the world. I think, obviously, to anybody, that's what this whole situation is, and I feel that's going to be brought up. So, but again, overall, the JR segment with Punk, the JR Punk segment, I thought was very well done. I like how the pushing Team Hell No, I like it. I like the tag team. It's kind of like an odd couple situation, but I like it. So it's pretty good that, they're showing how much they want to push this tag team by putting them over in the main event, clean against CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler. So, overall, I thought it was a decent Raw. I mean, as far as, like I said, the Eve, Beth thing, we all know what's going to culminate there. Again, overall, great segment. I don't know where they're going to go with AJ on this situation, but we'll see what happens. But that's my review for Monday Night Raw. Sorry it was in 2 parts. Again, my battery died at the end of the first video, so I apologize for that. But overall, I thought it was a decent Raw. I'd give it maybe an 8, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. And hopefully they can do better as we get closer to Hell in a Cell. So comment, video response down below, and I'll talk to you all later.